Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Let's go. We have Pesach coming up. We're going to take some ideas from Pesach and apply it to the ambassador course that we're studying right now. And we're going to start at the very beginning with the worst part, and that is Chametz. What is it that we are so scared of? We just mentioned before, right? Peanut allergies. We see in Israel there's no peanut allergies because I have the kids eating bamba from childhood. So the peanut allergies in Israel are almost totally non-existent. However, every Jew has an allergy to chametz. Even the sight of it, even the thought of owning it is so extreme. And obviously, not even to eat it or touch it, we're going to remove all our pots, all our pans, change our knives and forks, or boil the metal we have just to get all the chametz out of our lives. Why is this item so different from all other items? Ma nishtana halayla hazeh mikol halelot. B'chol halelot anenu ochlim chametz u'matzah. Aval halayla hazeh kulo matzah. So before he can. So thank you very much. That was great. So before we get to matzah, we've got to figure out what this chametz is, because chametz is going to be a Torah prohibition. Even, by the way, when it comes to non-kosher food, you can have, if a little bit of non-kosher food falls into your pot, it is batel b'shishim, it's nullified 1 in 60. Okay, we discussed this before. You make it a cholent, some milk goes in, some pig goes in, 1 in 60 is nullified. When it comes to this thing called chametz, even a mashim, even a small amount on Pesach, for Pesach it is mevatel, it is nullified. But even a small bit of chametz, big trouble, throw it away. It's a big problem. I feel about Ella, even 1 in 1,000. Some say 1 in 1,001 could work. But others say, no, that means never. That's why your parents and your grandmother and your great-grandmother will go every Pesach and go crazy and spring clean and take everything around. Although cleaning for Pesach is not spring cleaning. By the way, there's no chametz on the walls. And dust, as my mother said this morning to me on the phone, is not chametz. Right, Dasi? Dust is not chametz. Your job is to get the chametz out of the house, not the dust. It's not to clean the curtains and clean the chandeliers. You want to clean the chandeliers, wait till after Pesach. Don't add to your troubles. Right? But we tell this to the Jewish women, says the Ran, over thousands years ago, and says, although we tell it to them, they're still going to go crazy and clean everything again and again and again. But that's not what you're doing. It's not a spring cleaning, although it's not a coincidence that spring cleaning coincides with Pesach cleaning, which is also in the springtime, as we're going to see. Springtime is important. What's so bad about chametz? Not all at once. Chametz, what's so bad about it? Bread is kosher. Suddenly, for 7 or 8 days, if you're in Chos, it's like poison. What's so bad about it? What's the big deal? Pig, I hear, forbidden the entire year. But suddenly, come to chametz, it's the worst thing. Yeah.
So basically, when the Jews were leaving Mitzrayim, they had to leave quickly because they said that if they stayed even a minute longer, it would be even worse for them spiritually.
Okay.
That's what I heard.
That's very, very good.
So
You're actually telling me why we eat matzah, we're going to see.
Oh.
Right.
That's why we eat matzah. Very, very, no, we're going to get to that. I'm saying, what's going on with chametz? What is chametz? Why is it so bad? Yeah.
Represents the evil inclination.
It represents the evil inclination. Why? Why does it represent the Yetzer Hara, which we are all subject to night and day? Why do we... What?
I know what you're looking at.
Yeah, it's all right, yeah. Night, day, so we have, and weekends for you too, right? Night and day. Why are we so obsessed with this stuff? And why does it represent the evil inclination? Yeah.
So the whole cleaning on Passover thing is psychological?
It has psychological benefits to it, absolutely.
So that
It's
kind of
spiritual,
like,
it's psychological.
You can't cleanse yourself from like the inside almost. So you just like clean everything else.
Ooh, now you're getting somewhere. Now you're getting somewhere. The answer is going to involve, it's not just cleaning your house. We also have to clean our inner house. Because we have some midot, that we spoke about last week, and some of these midot are not so good. They're not so good. And one of the worst midot that we have, which we just mentioned last week, but I wanted to save it for this week, is ga'ava, ego. Ego is considered to be one of the worst things a person has. The opposite of ego is humility, right? Ga'ava and anava.
But ego could be a good thing too. It could be
It could be. All the traits are good. But you shouldn't be like, oh, I'm a nothing, a muzzle. Look at me, I can't do anything. I'm the worst. That's not what we're talking about. Right? Ego is a person knows everything.
I know.
Nothing's better, besides you. Nothing's better. I can't learn anything new. It's all about me. And everything good that happens to me because I'm so good. And everything bad happens to me is because someone else made it. Maybe failed it. Right? That's ego. Okay? Ego in that sense is not seen as a good thing. Why would chametz equal the Yetzer Hara, specifically this aspect of it? What is it about chametz? It's symbolic. There's a symbolism, says Rabbi Samson Raphael Hirsch, a great rabbi who lived in Germany, in Frankfurt am Main, in the 1800s.
I think it's the way bread is made. It's
Good.
tough.
Okay, it's not tough actually.
Not tough, but the way knead the dough, and everything.
Let's start again. How do you make bread? Very good. Answer me. How do you make bread? How is bread made?
Flour, yeast, water.
Okay, then what happens?
Eggs. You leave it to rise.
You leave it to rise, and what happens to it?
It blows up.
It blows up, not literally blows up, right? But it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and fuller and fuller
Like our ego.
and fuller.
Like our ego.
Okay.
Oh, now we're getting somewhere, my friends.
So it's kind of like we're full of it.
So now we're full, not of it, of hot air, full of ourselves. Says the Gemara, the rabbis will say, what causes us to sin? It's the sorosh be'isa. It's the yeast, it's the leaven in the bread. That's the problem. The problem is we're full of ourselves. When we're removing the chametz from our homes and our cars and everywhere else, we're also meant to be trying to improve and clean ourselves internally as well. Working on it. That's really what's meant to be happening.
If you think about it also, like the matzah represents like poor man's bread.
Hold on. We'll get to matzah in a second. You're running ahead, but it's good. Let's go slow. Let's go stage by stage.
I don't know.
It's good. We'll get into matzah. Good. Good you like it. So that's the ego, that's humility. So chametz represents the evil inclination, that side of us that I'm not willing to grow, I'm full of myself, and I just sit, and laziness. Because how does flour and water become bread or challah or whatever it is? It just blows up and grows. I noticed. Good to see you there. Hello. Welcome. Take a seat.
I say
Right. So chametz sits there and it blows up and it's full of itself, full of hot air. Right? All the bacteria multiply. Hello. Shalom, mazal tov. Thanks for coming. So chametz is growing and growing and it's getting worse and worse and worse. And that's part of our personality we want to wipe out. We're talking about chametz is so bad. Even a small amount has to go away. Says the Torah, even a mashu. You know what? You can't even see it. If it's in your house, first of all, you have to destroy it. Be your chametz to destroy it. Oh, you should destroy it. How should you destroy it? Burn it. You want to burn that side of your personality. That's the best way to do it, actually, as we're going to see. Okay, so you shouldn't even own it. If you want to own non-kosher food, I wouldn't suggest it, but you can. No problem. You can't even own chametz. You can't even own it on Pesach. Has to be completely got rid of. So we do a number of things. We're going to destroy it. We're going to sell it. Those people who do that, which works. It's an absolute, it does not belong to you. It's not yours. If you were to eat it, you'd be stealing as well. It belongs to the non-Jew. Although there's stories of people using Jews to actually buy it, which is a big mistake. You cannot even, and as well as that, we also nullify it. We make a declaration. This challah looks like challah, smells like challah, but you know what? To me, it's dust of the earth. Ka'afra da'ara, we say. When you say that, that bread for you is dust. You can never eat it even after Pesach. It's nothing. It does not exist. Now, by the way, that would just work. You should have technically, la halacha, that would work. You can walk around your house saying that challah, after da'ara, that cookie after da'ara, that pretzel after da'ara, it's all dust of the earth to me, it means nothing to me. That would work actually. That actually would suffice, but we don't do that alone because we might accidentally pick it up and go, oh, it's not bad. Oh, we don't want to do that. And we Jews are very good at just grabbing things and eating them, right? We don't want to do that, right? So we don't want to do that. But it does technically work. It's achsha, it's also important food. The Gemara says achsha, it's got chashivut, we don't want to do it. So we're going to do everything. We're going to burn it and sell it and destroy it and declare it, you name it, out. And we're including whiskey here as well. Sorry, I don't know. Yeah, no, yeah. And beer. Yeah. All that. Chametz, it goes. Even a small amount has to be removed from our homes and our inner homes as well. That's what we're trying to do. What's the opposite of chametz? Matzah? Matzah? Oh, matzah comes. That's the best food in the world. We love matzah. I mean, we don't like the effect it has on us, right? It kind of stays inside us for a little longer than we want. As we like to say, let my people go. It has a double meaning, right, Russ? We don't want to go into it, but you know what I'm talking about. What is the... By the way, do you know, what is the original matzah like? What was it like?
Pita.
Was it pita like a laffa? 100%. This modern day cracker bread that has the same texture as the box it comes in is a fairly recent... Why do they do it? Because they had to start making matzah from a long time before. And they couldn't store the bread because they didn't have any additives to keep it fresh. And so it had to have a long shelf life. So they made it a long time before, and it stayed crispy for a long while. You can open your matzah a year later, and it's still crispy and edible. I mean, it's tasty, but it still actually lasts. The job, it actually works, it does the job. Yeah.
You can make your own matzah that's like a laffa?
100% you can, if you know how to do it.
If you know
Now, you've got to know exactly how to do it. Yeah, they do go to hotels. You know what go to hotels nowadays? You don't even... Dusty smiling a bit too much over there.
No, I just know it's like over the top.
It's crazy. Super crazy. But you know what? You don't even go away for... I grew up going away and being at home a little bit. Pesach, I'll be honest with you, I'm a bit of a hypocrite because I'm actually going away this year. But I must say, Pesach at home is where it's meant to be. In the first 13 years of my marriage, my wife said we're staying home, or we're going to in-laws, whatever it is. The kids have to see us turn over the kitchen. Right? The whole process, we're going to see the whole process of praying for Pesach is going to be one of those valuable educational tools you have for the next generation. If you want to be the ambassadors of your family, I'm telling you, trust me, Rabbi, I'll tell you stories about this, of people whose whole lives have changed from Pesach. Children.
So you basically try to say that better to Passover at home?
Better to Passover home. And I'm hypocritical because this year I'm going away. However, I'm not going to lie to you, it's better at home. In terms of, it's harder. Oh yeah, much harder. You've got to work and change it. But in terms of the effect and the emotions, you think back to your life. Did any of you grow up with Pesach Seder in your homes? Yeah. You did? Some of you said, okay, you didn't. So you're going to make it for your kids one day, please God. I'm telling you, kids have such a strong memory of everything changing. Everything's different. It's all weird. And the songs and the food and the smell and opening the door. I must tell you a quick story. Can I tell you one crazy story? It's so important. I really want to understand this idea. I have a friend of mine called Lauren, a good friend of mine. He grew up with very little Judaism in his home. Nothing. I don't even think Yom Kippur. His father was a very famous doctor, like an author. He wrote books. He told me the following. He said he grew up with nothing at all except Pesach Seder. And Pesach Seder was matzah and bread on the table at the same time, right? What was the Pesach Haggadah? It was the Maxwell House Haggadah, which you should not use. I don't care if it came free with your shopping. You should use a proper Haggadah with explanations. There's thousands of types of them. And we sit down, and what was the conversation for the Pesach Seder? When do we eat? Enough of the talking already, Harry. Let's get to the, we've all experienced that.
So how long does it take between all the process until you eat?
How long does it take? A long time. You could be a long. Some people go long. We're going to go 3-4 hours. Some go the whole night.
As long as you finish.
Right? But you should. You have to have the Afghan as well. Then yes. Anyway, so he said, once a year, his father was totally religious. Would do one thing during the Pesach Seder. He would stand up, walk to the front door, open it, stand there for 5 seconds, close it, and it's. Someone said, what are you doing? Okay, what are you doing? And he says, Eliyahu has just walked in.
Where's my food?
Perfect timing. Eliyahu Navi, Elijah the prophet, has just walked in. And his father, and he would say, what do you mean? I can't see him. And he says, no, not him physically, but his spirit is with us. He said to me something amazing. He said, when I got older, and I thought about my identity, my Judaism, that stayed in my head. Those 5 seconds a year, where my father was willing to say, there's more than just a physical world, there's a spiritual world, that was enough for me. and he became an observant Jew. He got involved, married a Jewish girl. He's married, lives in Queens. He's a therapist, a very successful one, and a very good. He was best man at my wedding. He was my shomer, and a very good friend of mine. And he said it was those 5 seconds. You have no idea. People think, oh, you go to yeshiva, spend all the money, important stuff. It could be one small thing that triggers something in your mind or your kid's mind. The Pesach Seder is actually a lot of small triggers to get you thinking about stuff. And one of them is matzah. Matzah is the spiritual food of Pesach. Why? Well, what's the problem with chametz? It rises. What's matzah?
Matzah is simple.
Flat and simple. Flat and simple food. It's water and it's flour. It's water and flour, and it does not rise. How long do you have from where the water touches the flour to get it? You've got 18 minutes, and you're still kneading it and adding cold water, and you're kneading it. Right, whole time you're kneading it, doesn't come machmetz, and then you've been to a matzah factory before. These people are crazy. They're running around and moving around, everyone's running. More than 80 minutes, go. And no one touches the matzah. One person. He's like a guard. Don't touch the matzah. Once it comes out of the oven, it goes in. Right? It's thin. It's crispy.
It's expensive.
And it's very expensive. There's a lot of effort to get into it. But you know what?
If you've ever been to a matzah factory, they're crazy there.
They're crazy. Unbelievable.
Everyone's yelling.
Shouting, yelling, moving around, ain't no messing around. Why? Where does this go to? So in order to understand that, phones off please. We have to go to Mitzrayim. In Egypt, in Mitzrayim, the Jewish people used to eat matzah when they were slaves. Why? Because a slave, which we were in Egypt, did they get to sit back with a nice big laffa with hummus and falafel and shawarma and tahina and harif? No. In Israel they get to do that. When a slave, get on with it, eat your food, move, go, get on with it, Jew, go walk over there. So matzah represents the food that is given to poor people, lechem oni, and slaves who don't have time to allow their food to rise, to cook properly. They're not making steaks. They got 2 hours to let a steak sizzle on the barbecue. They move very, very quickly. However, later on, the same food that represents slavery, so matzah, at the beginning of the Haggadah, represents slavery. At the end, it represents freedom. Why? How can the same food represent freedom?
So you want to say that Jewish people on purpose made matzah when they left Egypt because they used to eat it?
They would.
They ate it before.
That was the food. That was the food they were used to. They were eating matzah the entire time.
We think that they wanted to make bread, but probably they wanted to make matzah.
They didn't have time to make bread. That's why they were slaves. But once they were free, which we're going to see, they were free 6 months before they left Egypt. They really weren't slaves anymore. Yet, as soon as they were going, they started to add flour to water, had to have bread, had to have some provisions to leave, and we still ate matzah. And the matzah represents freedom. Listen carefully. Matzah represents slavery, and then at the end we were free, and yet we still made matzah. Why? Because we had to leave b'chipazon, with great speed. We had to leave quickly. Why, were we escaping? No! We had 6 months. We could have walked out any time towards the end. What were we waiting for? We were excited to get to the next stage of Jewish history, becoming the Jewish people. So now matzah moves from representing slave, running, to representing excitement, zurizut in Hebrew, which means alacrity or passion, because I want to rush out and get to Mount Sinai and get to the mountain where we get the Torah and become the Jewish people. So matzah begins as slavery food and then represents our excitement to be part of the Jewish people. They didn't have time to let their matzah rise, means they didn't run out escaping, they walked out. And they ate the Korban Pesach, the Paschal lamb, with their belts on, with a makel, with their staff in their hand, and they ate it, and they waited all night, and then the sun came up, and they walked out. But they were excited, and they didn't want the bread. Hashem says, don't let the bread become chametz. It remains matzah. It remains matzah. So now matzah represents our excitement to be the Jewish people. Why? Because it's made quickly. Zrizit, one of the most important character traits that exists. We learned from, last point, to close the circle, Avram Avinu, who, remember we spoke about last week, was visited by 3 angels who are like guests. And what does he do? He runs. He runs to take care of them. Meir. And he makes ugot. What are ugot? Matzah. Because that was the time of year where you move quickly and you eat matzah. And even Avraham Avinu, even Abraham knew that.
Yeah. I have a few questions. First of all, last week you thought that zrizah meant hurrying to do something good instead of pushing it off.
Yes.
I took notes, right?
Exactly.
So they weren't necessarily pushing off the matzah. How's it zrizah? Because Abraham, right, he could have said, oh, you know what, let them come to me. On the other hand, with the matzah, you know, zrizah, right, they were doing it in a hurry, but they're not necessarily pushing anything
Right,
off.
they were waiting. Very good. They were waiting. You're absolutely right. They were waiting when Hashem says, go, bam, we're gone. We're not, okay, fine, I'll leave here. So it's a symbol, matzah is a symbol of freedom. The same item that at the beginning of the Seder is not, is a sign of freedom. Yeah.
So would you say that the Haggadah is older than the actual Torah?
It's not on the actual Torah. The Haggadah, there's a mitzvah in the Torah, we're going to see. We're going to see there are 7 mitzvahs you're going to do at the Pesach Seder table. 5 of them are Torah mitzvot. Sorry, 2 of them are Torah mitzvot. 5 of them are rabbinic mitzvot. Okay? The 2 Torah mitzvot are what we're going to discuss today.
We were
They are eating the matzah and
Talking about.
talking. We Jews like to talk, right? Jews, schmooze, right? V'higarata lebincha, 1 second. V'higarata lebincha, you've got to tell the story over. That means you have to tell over. At a certain point in history, they wrote down the formula of stories of the history of the Jewish people, and it was added, and it became the official Haggadah. But actually, the real mitzvah is just to describe the Exodus. Now we use the Haggadah to do it. But for a long time, it was just an oral description of what happened. That's the way it was for a long time. And then in Talmudic times, they said, you know what, Jews are going to exile, we're going to forget Hebrew, forget everything. They made a standard text. This is the great people, the Ashkenaz Gadolah, right? The great prophets. They put it down into an official text. That became the text of the Pesach Seder. But you can talk and discuss outside of that. You should.
Does the Ashkenazi Haggadah different?
Nope.
Party?
Nope.
I'm a Christian.
Yeah.
My problem with like burning the chalot or like chametz is that we have like this principle in Judaism that we should have like so much respect for like.
I know. And
so
suddenly,
we go with that.
you're saying something very good. We have so much, you very good point. We have so much respect for bread. You know, we shouldn't even throw bread. Right?
Yeah.
And it's fine, do it. And they should, you should double wrap. If you throw away bread, according to Jewish law, you should double wrap it. Right? You should do that. And suddenly we take it, we burn it. Can you imagine how bad the bread is for us on Pesach that we have to burn it? Imagine how bad. It just shows what you're saying is, wow, how bad is this chametz thing that Hashem says, treat bread with respect. Don't throw it in the garbage, blah, 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 blah. And suddenly, we're burning it. It shows how bad it is that time of year. You're proving my point exactly.
Okay, could we just like give away the bread like to the birds?
You can do that before Pesach, but you should, ideally, you should try to burn a little bit. If you can't make a fire because you're in Manhattan, you're going to get arrested for starting a fire, then, whichever one I can, it's like a little pan, just make it up. You can take a little bit, just a little bit. Yeah, just a little kazayas. One kazayas, small amount, you just burn it. It's sufficient. You don't have to burn, you're not making a massive bonfire burning and like everything, like, here are 55 bagels, and right? You take a little amount, you should burn it. If you can't, you flush it down the toilet, you destroy it with bleach, so it's inedible, so that even a dog would not eat it. It's actually the level that it becomes inedible, right? Right? Here's Ruth Kelev, but even a dog would not be able to eat it is the level. But ideally, you should try to burn it. That's the best sreifa, is the best way to be mavayir at chametz. And the night before Pesach, you're going to go around your house, which this year is going to be Thursday night. You're going to go around, you're going to make a blessing, and you're going to walk around and you're going to look for... Now we, in our day and age, are so careful when it comes to any chametz in the house, that from like a month before, you can't find anything. You know what I'm saying? You clean things so well. You used to have mice and animals in the house that were moving around, you know. I'm not talking kids, I mean actual mice. Oh, they put the nooks and crannies and the walls. Nowadays we don't have this problem. So what people do is they hide 10 pieces around that small, tiny piece around the house. So at least when you make the bracha, the blessing over it, you can actually find it. So you can fill it. You take those pieces and you burn it. Okay?
My rabbi said this today. He said, just don't put it in the foil paper because if you burn it.
Right, don't put it in foil because you make toast out of it and not destroy it.
Foil paper.
Very, very good point. Yes, sorry.
Well, by the way, you could buy sets that have the chametz. And I have a question.
Yeah, you do not buy a set of matzah, waste the
The
money.
rabbi on Avignon.
They sell salt water as well for like a few dollars, seen it? What's happened to our people? They sell, I have a picture of it, they sell jars of salt water. You can't put water and salt out of, what's happened to our generation? Sorry, it's carrying.
Yeah, there's a rabbi in Avignon Ocean. He taught he was giving a Shabbos class, and he taught us that basically that you get 64 or 65 mitzvah for sitting at the seder.
But it could be, but the real listing of actual mitzvah that say the table are these 2 and 5. 2 doraita, v'gav telebincha, right? Telling over, speaking, discussing the whole story, and eating the matzah. The others are dalakasot, everything else are rabbinic.
And why spend it at home? You mean with the family?
I mean with family.
Oh, okay.
I'm not going to a hotel. When I'm in a home, I mean not to a hotel where you don't have to clean and the kids are like, which I'm doing this year. I'm a hypocrite. I admit that. I'm okay with that.
That's awesome.
There's room for improvement.
You get a vacation, then you get a...
Yeah, but I can't speak against it, but all I'll tell you is my own personal experience growing up. I had hotel Pesachs and home ones. Hotel ones were just vacations in my mind. We had everything. You even had kosher Pesach pizza. Don't ask.
Really?
Right? But then you know what? The ones at home, I remember the smell of my mother's food and the chicken soup and everything else. Everything, it makes an atmosphere. You should try to do it at least 1 or 2 times for your families, God willing.
The
Yeah.
whole week of Pesach, we're technically supposed to eat mostly matzah, right? But now...
Actually,
hold
the
on.
mitzvah is to eat on the first day or 2 days.
No, I'm saying, let me finish. So what I'm saying is that it's interesting now they have everything that looks like bread, right? You have bagels, you have pizza, all that stuff. So where's the point of this whole thing? The point is to feel how they felt when they were there. Why would they allow the Jewish people allow this to happen?
Business and money.
No, that's besides the point. That's you.
Well, not so besides the point, actually. Not so far from the emet. Look, listen, you don't have to be a schlepper. You have to walk around. On Pesach Seder, you have to, we'll see in a few moments, feel as though you left Egypt. That's going to be the mitzvah. You have to actually feel and experience. About the second hour, we're just a little bit different. Right? I'm not going to give you any sources. You're going to become your own sources of information for the second hour. It's going to be very, very different. I'm just telling you right now. You're going to work on that yourself and create your own ideas. Because that's what you're going to do, and hopefully you're going to share them with your family and the questions I put together for you. Truth is, you're right. However, the mitzvah is to enjoy Pesach and make it look good. You should have your finest food. Did you know that? The finest food, the finest china and cutlery for Pesach. People used to take out plates they used to have as a deposit that we used to give. Non-Jews would give Jewish people plates. It was a commodity in the old days. Now they couldn't eat it, it wasn't kosher, right? It was used for non-kosher food. But they would actually line it up to decorate the home. Everything should look beautiful. So in today, 2016, you need to make it look good and enjoy, and the best food, the best everything, best clothing, you should do it. That's the mitzvah. And 2016, you do that. We don't just eat the matzah. The matzah represented, and then we were rejoicing. The Pesach Seder is a Thanksgiving meal. And you give thanks for having the best food, the best clothing, and you should buy your best suits and pocketbooks and everything you need to have in order to... Don't tell your husbands or wives I said that, okay? Don't hit me, okay? Yes?
I have a question. I heard a rabbi speak once, and he said that in Passover Seder, you should be thinking, have in mind that it's like you're coming out of
Stop.
Egypt.
We're going to get there. You're saying good. You're jumping ahead. Good. No, this is good. Okay. So that's the thing, that's chametz, that's matzah. Chametz gone, we become the matzah people. Okay? The rest of the year we're the bagel people because we are holy nation. Bagel, holy nation, you get it? Great. Okay. This is exactly where I want to go next. There is an obligation, says the Haggadah, which is based upon Pesukim from the Torah. And I'll give you the Hebrew. And then we'll discuss some interesting customs. We'll finish with this. Chayav Adam, a person is obligated, lirot et atzmo, to see him or herself, ki'ilu hu yatsa Mitzrayim, as though he came out of Egypt. Okay? Where is the Haggadah? What does that mean? I have to see myself on Pesach Seder as though I came out of Egypt. Now I've been traveling a lot. I've been to Jordan. I spent a week with a group doing a sponsored walk through Jordan when they just opened it. Another time I'll discuss that with you. I've also been to Israel. I've been to the Sinai Desert. I haven't been to Egypt. And yet the Haggadah says, see yourself as though you left Egypt. Why does the Haggadah get it from? The pasuk in the Torah says, Exodus, right? Say, Tim, Hashem took me out of Egypt. You read in the first person, not the second or third person. What do they learn out from that, the Haggadah? You have to see yourself as though you left. What does this mean? I want to give you a few answers to this question, then we'll wrap this whole thing up, and it will become very, very clear. And it goes like this. Rashi, number one. Rashi says, true, you were in Egypt, and you were taken out, but actually, your ancestors were. Your great-great-great-great-grandmother and your great-great-great-grandfather were slaves in Egypt. But you know what? Hashem took them out. If they weren't taken out, you would still be there, which means that you came out. Okay? That's Rashi. Rashi's answer is, they came out, and had we not been taken out, we wouldn't be Moshe, Aaron, Miriam, Shoshana, Abigail. We'd be Abdullah, Fatima, I don't know. We'd still be there. We'd still be there. I wasn't pointing at you, Dora. Well, we'd still be there.
Susanna.
Okay? Exactly. So we, Baruch Hashem, were taken out. Because it says our ancestors were taken out. That's Rashi's answer. The Rambam lists this idea, a person seems to have left Egypt, and he changes it by adding one letter. He adds one letter. He changes it from lirot, see yourself, to laharot. He has the letter hey. What's the difference between lirot and laharot? Lirot, laharot. Anybody know?
To see.
Very good. Lirot is to see. Laharot is to be seen, to show yourself. Says the Rambam, a person is obligated to show yourself, to act as though you're leaving. And we do a number of things to represent this. We drink wine, which slaves don't do, free people do. We eat matzah. We lean to the left, we eat the matzah and drink the wine. We do all of these things, but we do a lot more. There are many fascinating customs that various communities, especially the Sephardic communities, have developed over the years, which have a strong history that we do. For example, scallions. Very, very good. See, how do I know that Dora was going to say scallions? What is this? Do you know what this is, Darcy?
No.
You know what this is?
Scallions?
Scallions.
Scallions.
Like onions.
Yeah.
We walk around.
Yeah.
Now you say, Dora, what do?
We hit people.
We hit people with scallions while singing Dayenu. Where does this come from? It's an ancient tradition. I don't know how ancient, but it goes back a long way. Why? Because in certain parts of Palot, when the Jewish people left Egypt, they complained about the food. They said, oh, Egypt, the food was so good. We had meat, and we had fish, and we had shum, we had garlic, and we had avatiach, we had melon, and we had batzal. We had onions. Oh, you want to go back? You complain about it? We take the onions that you want, and we hit you with it like the beat.
We had the table, we don't have the person.
You hit the person. We go around hitting them.
Like in the Russian sauna? Like the body?
So is the Russian sauna. Hopefully not. It's painful.
Hungarians, after they do that, they actually give their children a blessing.
They give each other a bracha as well. What else do we do? Any other customs there? Come on.
Oh yeah, but don't you find a matzah or something? Hide the matzah.
Afikomen, that's what we all do as well. That's to keep the kids interested. We'll talk about that in a
Beat
second.
up, go hide it with the matzah.
We what? We hide the matzah. We'll speak about that. It's unusual, right? We certainly teach our kids that stealing matzah and grabbing, hiding things is okay. That's a very important part that goes back thousands of years. The Gemara speaks about it, but that's not part of this. I spoke Friday morning at Bruriah High School. We had a few hundred girls over there, 250 actually. And one of the girls, she says, in my home, we take a roasted egg, a boiled egg in a shell, and we break it on the head of one of the guests. I said, what? I said, why do you do that? She's like, oh, I'm not sure, it's the custom. I said, I love it. It's abuse, but I love it, right? If you want to keep kids interested, excited, that's the way they do it. The Moroccans jump over water or underwater, or somebody will pass the matzah plate over people's heads, right? During halach ma'anya, right? Do that as well. We do that as well. Oh, talking about you. All these things, we laharo, we lean, we drink, we act it out. That, says the Rambam, is how you fulfill this. That's what the Haggadah means when you read those words. You're going to get to that point, you're going to remember this lesson we're having now. Behold, you're going to tell your families this. You have to cease up to you left Egypt. Rashi, because you did leave Egypt. Because your ancestors left. Rambam, not to see, but you have to be seen. Show that you're excited that you're getting out of Egypt. Says Rabbi Shimon Schwab. He was a rabbi who escaped from the Holocaust, I think, from Germany. And he moved to New York, and he built a whole community here in New York of German Jews. And he gives a mind-bending answer to this question, which I must share with you. It'll be the third and final answer. It's called Rashi. There's many, many more. But he blows your mind. He says, you ready for this? Actually, you left Egypt. When it says you have to see yourself as though you left, he means that you actually left. But I've never been to Egypt. Oh yes, you have. When? 3,500 years ago. That wasn't me. Yes, it was you. I don't remember. So what? Do you remember everything from your childhood? Do you remember being a 2-day-old baby? Do you remember your parents taking care of you and nursing you and being part of your life? No. If I showed you a photo of yourself as a 2-day-old baby, would you recognize yourself? Probably not. How do you know it's you? Because your mother said that's you. Does it look like you? Sound like you? Not the same body. You've completely changed. Your cells have completely changed over the years. There's no, I mean, on a DNA level, you can see it. But that's it. It says Rosh Hashanah the same thing. See, the Jewish people aren't past, present, and future. We are part of one long, organic whole. We were born when we left Egypt. That was us as babies. And then we grew up, and then we became the Jewish people. It's actually one long thing. I don't remember leaving Egypt. You don't remember being a baby either. So what? That's still you. So when it says you left Egypt, it means you. And not you now. The baby you. The nation. There's a national memory we're tapping into that is actually you. And interestingly enough, even on a DNA level, you could check them and probably find a connection to us, just like you can check a baby's DNA and be the same as us as we get older. On a DNA level, we can see ourselves. But that's actually us. It's a wild idea. He says, if you don't understand this, you don't understand the idea of being Jewish. And actually, the Jewish people are usually referred to in the singular. When the Jewish people, 70 people went into Egypt of our ancestors, and they are called Nefesh in the singular. Esav, the other nations, are referred to as Nefashot in the plural. So as a people, we are Ish Echad, Belev Echad. We're basically one organic being that has been around for 3,500 years. It's just one continuation. That's us as children. That's all it is. What an incredible way to think about the Jewish people and Jewish history. It's one long line of being one thing. Okay? Let's run through the other mitzvot of the night before we finish. And the other mitzvot of the night involves the maror. You have to eat the bitter herbs. One of the, commonly we eat romaine lettuce for this. Romaine lettuce is actually not so bitter, but it is a little bitter if you chew on it a long time. So romaine lettuce is chosen because the more you chew it, the more bitter it gets. Just like the beginning of the exile wasn't so bad, it became worse as the exile carried on. So romaine lettuce is good for that. Some people, like my father-in-law, say that is not bitter. He grinds down. No, we're talking about maror, not karpas. Maror. He grinds down raw horseradish, not the red stuff you buy, which is beetroot and watered down. And they make it, and they have to have a shot glass of that, by the way. And he eats that, and it comes out your nose like fire. You know, that cleans up your system. Okay, you don't have to do that. Right? A nice big leaf of lettuce is good enough. By the way, how much matzah do you have to eat? So 2 kazayis for the first eating. You have to have 2 kazaysim, 2 olive amount. So basically, you're going to see some books. I'll give you like half a matzah. You want a good way to know it? The minimum I would say, basically just the size of your hand.
The shmur matzah?
Any matzah, the size of your hand. Ideally, for the first night, you should have shmur matzah. Obviously, based on matzah, obviously. Right, about the size of your hand with your thumb, that's sufficient for an amount. You'll see books saying, "Oh, you can eat more than that, fine." But yeah, but there's no room for the main course. One night you'll eat for God. One night you'll eat for Hashem. Okay, you want to have so much chicken soup and chicken, you should have.
It's like your hand is nothing.
So that's better with thumb.
I thought it was more than that.
They say in the books, that's sufficient.
Nothing.
If you want to have more than that, you could do that.
Half a matzah.
Not even. Not
Eat
even.
as much
Truth be told, if you can eat more, go ahead, but that's the minimum amount they say. It may be smaller than that, but that's a good amount, a good way to know how much you're having. Okay? Some people are more mahmir and they'll do it proper and they'll go to the highest level of the shear. Fine, but you fill with just that kind of amount. That's sufficient. I give that as a good basis for kazayis. Right? And you basically have to eat it with a short amount of time. You know, about 9 minutes is the maximum they say. And you chew it and you eat it leaning to the left itself. Yeah? Now you have the karpas. Karpas is a root vegetable. Now some people have celery. You have celery? Yeah. How do I know you have celery? Do you read Persian or speak Persian at all? How do you say celery in Persian? Karaf, same word.
Yeah.
You knew that? Karaf, kapas, same as a celery happens to be chosen because it's Persian has the same thing, and that may be. But actually, you can use anything. You go back to Europe. What did your ancestors, the Ashkenazim here? What did your ancestors eat all day, every day? Potatoes. Potatoes, good enough. Root vegetable. Or
Yes, sir.
carrot. Some people have a little bit of carrot. Yeah, that will suffice. Or parsley, a little bit of parsley. What do you do, Dusty? Parsley, yeah, right? Yeah, potato. Ah, like
Onion.
the Altaheim. Onion would also do all root vegetables because the Jewish people went out from the ground and they went free and came to light afterwards. So root vegetable is really the best way to do it. The word carapas actually is mentioned in the Torah in relation to the coat of Joseph. Remember the Technicolor dream coat? It was red and yellow and green and blue and right? So that coat, why? Because he was the first, we begin the Seder remembering his coat. Because the brothers got jealous of him, sold him to the coat dipped in blood, and sold him to where? To Egypt, right. So we begin the Haggadah remembering the story of Joseph and his coat and how he was sold by jealousy, because of jealousy, to Egypt. That was the beginning of the Egyptian exile. Yeah.
I heard that was the coat that Adam wore.
Very good. It got passed down and as a magic of very, very good. But it wasn't actually Malkala. It could have just been a striped coat. But it had certain mystical powers. According to some,
Why they
some
stayed in
commentators.
Egypt 6 months after the slavery ended?
Because it wasn't time to leave yet. There were still more plagues to come. I had to go through the 10 plagues. And I had to wait for the Makkah B'chorat. And then Hashem wanted the full university course to finish. 1 year university course. Right? 1 week, some of them. 1 week, 3 weeks of warning, 1 week of plague. Not all of them, some came
Why
without
didn't
warning.
they work for 6 months?
Because already the slavery stopped. The Makkah, the plagues were so strong towards the end that they weren't able to keep them as slaves anymore. So 6 months when they left, they were actually considered to be slaves. Now there are 4 cups of wine we drink, and we put a 5th one on the table. The 5th one is for Eliyahu Navi. Why?
She's coming.
He's coming.
Something Mashiach.
Why? Something Mashiach. Very, very good. Eliyahu Navi is going to be the one who announces Mashiach is coming. You know, half the Pesach Seder is about Pesach, getting out of Egypt. The other half is about Mashiach coming, actually. Which is why we finish off the Seder with the words, L'shana haba, Yerushalayim. Why do we say that? We love Yerushalayim, but we don't say that at the end of the holiday except Yom Kippur. Why do we say that? Because we're saying Mashiach should come. Pesach, they say in Nisan, Nigalim, and La'atir as well. Nisan is the time for Mashiach to come. So we want to invoke and say, Eliyahu, come in! Get us out of Galut! Get us out of Brooklyn! Take us to Eretz Yisrael!
When he was supposed to come in the month of Av, because it's supposed to be a happy time then.
Possibly, they say. But Nisan is actually, they say, Latir, Nisan is the time that Mashiach can come and redeem us.
Alright, how come we in the end when we stop eating, what was the last one? Afikomen?
Afikomen.
Right, why can't eat that?
Beautiful.
What's
The Afikomen, so we're about stealing. We want kids to be excited. It used to be in the time of the Gemara. You know what they used to do? They used to give them a little toy, little treats, little forms of nuts to keep them excited. Imagine that. Would that work now? If I give my kids nuts, hey, have a walnut. I'm nuts, you know? But that was all to keep them up and interested. We remind them and say, oh, let's get excited. We wanted to remember how the Jewish people began. So we take the middle matzah, we break it, the bigger piece we wrap up, and we store away, hide away as the afikomen. The word afikomen is actually Greek for epikumen, which means dessert. We're going to eat it as dessert. That's where it comes from. Okay? Why do we hide the bigger piece? Because the end of the Seder is Mashiach time. And the Olam Haba, the future world. So we're telling our family, oh, the future world, that's Olam Haba. And that's the bigger portion waiting for all of us. So the big Afikomen, piece of matzah, is for the future world, the Afikomen. That's in the future Olam Haba. Okay? Then we have our kids find it, and we eat it. Now, why do we eat it? Because we don't eat Korban Pesach anymore. So when Mashiach comes, the temple is rebuilt, we will. We don't have the Paschal lamb. So we eat this large piece of matzah instead. It used to be they would eat this lamb, which wasn't so big actually, not the size of a cat actually, size-wise, and it was the last thing they ate because they wanted the taste, the Torah says, should remain on your teeth and your mouth. So the taste stays with you. You remember it. That's why you can't eat after eating the Korban Pesach, the Paschal lamb. We don't have it anymore. What do we have now? The Afikomen. So the Afikomen is the last thing, the taste should remain. Oh, you're still going to have some more water and 2 more cups of wine. That's okay. And you can drink water afterwards, but you should have the taste of the Afikomen on your lips. Dasi.
The Afikomen present, so is like a thing to give presents?
Yes.
Is it coming from the fact that they couldn't find the presents and they just wanted to...
No. It comes from keeping your kids interested, wanting to stay up. They would give them, I'm telling you, in the old days, the Gemara says they would give them like raw grain or nuts. That was the present they would give them, the Afikomen gift. That's what the Gemara tells me. Rabbi Akiva used to say, give them something. Keep the kids up. Kalayot used to give them. Keep the kids up and interested. We want the kids, but we don't have to keep the kids up in Sukkot. Don't give them Rosh Hashanah. They want to go to bed Yom Kippur early? No problem. Not Pesach. On Pesach, the kids have to stay up. It's all about the kids. Talk to the children. Literally, talk to them during the Pesach Seder. Because there's 4 types of children. What are the 4 Arba Banim, the 4 children? We have the Chacham, the smart one, then the Rasha, the bad one, then the Tam, the simple child, and then the Ena Yodeh Lishol. Says the rabbi, there's 4 types of Jew. The Chacham is the smart kid. Even the smart, wise kid, by the way, what does he do? He asks questions. We said it already, right? What is smart? Asking questions. Okay. That's where the word Chochma, he's the Chacham. Chochma is actually 2 words. Koachma, the power of what? The power of asking questions. So he's asking. Then the Rasha, he's also asking, but he's cynical. What is this? Why are you doing this? What's the next one? Tam. What is he simple? What does he say? What is this? Matzah. What is this? 4th child? Ena Yodeh Lishol. There's even questions to ask. It says the Baba show you something amazing about this. These are 4 generations, and carefully, you're going to relate to this. We have the great-grandfather, the grandfather, the father, and the son. The great-grandfather is the Chacham. He knows, right? All your great-grandfathers were rabbis, right? Oh, my great-grandfather was a rabbi back in Morocco, back in Persia. Who's the Chacham back in Russia, right? Everyone's got a great-grandfather. And then his son, my grandfather, problems, challenges, exiles, Holocaust, whatever, he rebelled, went against. Then his father, that's your father, right? He knows a little bit, but what is this? Why? The 4th generation
is us.
Is us. Most Jews today don't even know there's a question to even ask. But they're at the Pesach table. Where's the 5th son? If you don't get that 4th son, the Eno de Lishol, and get him to being a Chacham, the 5th son isn't at the Pesach table, which is why the Lubavitch Rebbe used to say, we have to go out to the streets and bring the 5th son to the table. We've got to bring him in and teach him there's something in Judaism. So the 4 sons, actually 4 generations, what we have to do is restart and make sure ourselves and our children become the Chacham. To begin the 4, you get a 4 generational gap, and then Judaism is lost. A lot of Russian Jewry is completely assimilated because they went through 4 generations of nothing. Once you get 4 generations, Arba Dorot, it's over. That's the 4 sons. You've got to get them involved. You get a 4 generational chance because you remember your father, obviously, and you remember your grandfather, and may remember your great-grandfather, but your grandfather spoke about him. But great-great-grandfather, I don't know my great-great-grandfather's name. It's too far back. Do any of you know your great-great-grandparents? No. Right? Barely our great-grandparents, right? It's unusual, right? But to get it, so it's so far back, we'll disconnect. So you get 4 generations, and then it's all gone. Those are the 4 sons. Yeah.
Question. Let's say a person is in the middle of converting to Judaism. Are we allowed to have them in our seder?
Yes.
And do they participate with the brachos?
Yes. That's up to them where they are in terms of development. Yeah, they can. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a little tricky when it comes to cooking for them and other questions, but if they're in the process, they're allowed to. And once they become Jewish, by the way, it's something fascinating. They become so Jewish, they read the same Haggadah. How? Because they're going to say the same stuff. Your ancestors weren't in Egypt. Your ancestors were in, I don't know, Babylonia. No, when you become Jewish, you become completely Jewish, you even get the same great-grandparents that we all have. So a convert says the same words. Avadim Hayinu Mitzrayim. I was a slave in Egypt. My ancestors not left. What are your ancestors? You were in Midian. You're in Russia. You're in New Jersey. No. That was New Jersey back then. No, you're part of the people. When you become part of the people, you become part of our national history as well. Fascinating concept. Any questions on anything? We did a lot today.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic, my friends.
Yeah.